Hello! So we are now officially on video 3 of the 6-part video series of Staying Sane Amidst Global Crisis. Here is the plan that we've gone through in previous videos. That's who I am. And so these are the steps that we're going through. So last time we talked about creating a safe space, and today we're talking about creating a mental safe space. So last time we talked about creating a physical space for ourselves that's almost those full of those cues to start our heal response in contrast to our stress response. So a place where we're saying to ourselves, this is a place where you can kind of switch off from what's going on in the rest of the world and what's happening around us. This is a safe place where we can feel calm, we can feel relaxed, we can recharge those batteries, and to almost give us that space to be able to think creatively, to take that step back metaphorically and say, okay, I'm not surrounded by the problem, I now have a little bit of distance from the problem, and that gives me that ability to be able to think through things a little bit more clearly, a little bit more logically. We're talking about a place for centering and grounding ourselves. So a place where we're reminded of our values and our purpose, almost as that reminder of, even though my instincts are telling me panic buy, hoard all of the tinned food, absolutely stock up my cupboards, when we look at these pictures of ourselves and these things that are important, it's that reminder of, well, actually, I'm not the only one here. I've actually got my friends and my family and my neighbours and everyone around me to think about as well. So maybe I'll resist that temptation to panic buy. Maybe I can tap into a bit of a source of strength for myself here. So the reason why we went into a lot of detail with this is, if we don't talk about it, people might think, oh yeah, I can meditate while sat in front of the TV watching the news. So there are things that aren't going to be indicative of relaxation. So if at all possible, we want to create those external cues for ourselves to help us relax. I know that this isn't completely related, or it's a little bit off topic, but I just want to talk a little bit about drinking and drugs and those sorts of things at the moment, because I think that culturally having a drink, particularly in Australia, but I'm sure in a lot of countries, having a drink is often our signal to ourselves of saying, I can now relax. And so we might find that we start drinking more in times like this to try to get that relaxation from ourselves. Of course, the problem is that we end up drinking all the time, and then it causes longer term health issues. So that's another reason why it's important to have these alternative physical cues in place, so that we can kind of step away a little bit, have alternatives, have options other than just reaching for a drink. So just to refresh, stress response equals power up, heal response equals winding down, and we're really looking at ways that we can get that heal response up and running so that we're not experiencing chronic stress. We want to look like this puppy. We want to be full of food and just totally relaxed if we possibly can. So sometimes, even when we've got a fantastic personal space set up, a physical space set up, sorry, we're still going to be buzzing about all of these things that are going on. And I just want to say, first and foremost, this is very, very normal. We've got a fantastic brain that's very good at imagining an alternative reality, or thinking in abstract terms, having images in our head that we can manipulate. So this is what imagination is. This is our ability to problem solve, to project into the future, to hypothesize, to predict. And this is an amazing function that we have, and this is what, you know, has enabled us to do so many amazing things. But the problem is that we're so good at it that when we project a mental image, for example, all of our loved ones around us dying, it actually triggers the same stress response as though that were actually happening. So very powerful, but we can get caught up in it, and then we find that we're just in a constant state of stress because we're imagining all of these alternative realities. So when we talk about mindfulness, I know that there are lots of people that are kind of cynical about it, or, you know, they kind of picture someone being, you know, sat on top of a mountain with their legs crossed and not thinking of anything, and, you know, just being completely in nirvana. And I don't think that that's an accurate representation at all about what mindfulness is. Mindfulness, you know, in fact, I think that this image of the dog and the person walking is the perfect way to summarize mindfulness. So the man on the left is walking along and he's picturing all of these different problems and all of these stresses and all of these things that are going on. And the dog next to him, who doesn't have a cerebral cortex that is as developed as ours, that dog is just thinking, ah, look at that sun, look at those trees, oh, it smells so good, oh, this is wonderful, isn't this great? And this is what we want to kind of be able to switch between as easily as possible. So, sorry, I don't know if you can hear, my phone's being a bit buzzy at the moment. So we want to be able to switch between these mindsets, and it's kind of as simple as noticing that we're in that mindset, and then kind of going, okay, what's actually going on right now that I can kind of focus on instead? And sometimes that might be, I am noticing that I am feeling afraid, that I am running through all of these worst case scenarios, and that they are just running through my head constantly. And particularly to begin with, we can't necessarily change it immediately, but the first step is to notice that that's what's happening. I just want to run through a little bit of a story or a scenario. So you are arriving home from the shops, and it's running through your mind about how, oh God, you know, maybe I, you know, touched something that, you know, had elements of the virus on it. What if I'm bringing it home with me? What if I'm doing this? What if I'm doing that? And it's kind of running through us over and over again like a broken record. And of course, you know, and you might even be feeling this right now, you know, we start to feel a little bit tense. We feel like our heart is kind of being a bit racy and a bit buzzy. We might even feel a little bit shaky. And of course, you know, we feel that we have a short temper when we're feeling like this. So maybe then we're being a bit snappy with our family members once we get home. So we can either be kind of caught in that vortex, that stream, that waterfall of thoughts about what the worst case scenario is. And this has this impact on our physiology and impact on our reactions. Or we can just take a little moment, a little step back, and just notice that that's what's going on. Ah, okay, that's what I'm feeling stressed about. This is what's running through my head. It might not be a reality. It might just be these projections that my brain is coming up with. And even though potentially in a situation like this, these are things that we, you know, might benefit from being aware of and responding to, it's not always helpful to be wrapped up in thinking about the worst case scenario as though that's a reality. So this is a skill, mindfulness is a skill that helps us differentiate between what are the thoughts that our brain is spewing out as a worst case scenario, and, you know, that may or may not happen in the future, versus what is actually happening now, and how can I get a little bit of distance, a little bit of perspective, switch off a little bit from them. So when we switch into this mode of observing, so noticing without judging or criticizing, this actually interrupts our stress response. So when we're stressed, when we are perceiving something as threatening, a part of our brain called our amygdala triggers our stress response. And it kind of does this without going through our cerebral cortex, so without going through our logical thinking part of our brain. So it's this automatic reaction, which makes perfect sense because we don't want to be umming and ahhing thinking, is that a snake? Should I move away from it? Or is it a stick? Should I move closer? We want it to be an automatic reaction. But what we find is that when we observe what our body is doing, what our brain is doing, it kind of interrupts that response and helps us feel calmer. And from this place of calm, we're in a better spot to be able to choose how we can respond. I hope that that's kind of making sense to people. It's one of those tricky concepts to explain, but once we kind of start to get it, it all starts to click into place a little bit. So we're going to run through a few mindfulness exercises just to kind of get a little bit of practice and start to build those skills up for ourselves. And when I talk about this really is a skill. This is like learning a language. This is something that, and I'm probably going to get the figure wrong here, but I think we need to do this 1,182 times consciously before it starts to become a more automatic process. So this is something that we kind of want to be doing all day, every day, switching between being caught up in our thoughts and then being mindful and aware of our thoughts, aware of our internal and external reality that's happening now. And if we build up this skill, it's a little bit like working out in the gym. We're kind of training our muscles. The way that our neurons work is that if a particular pathway, thought pathway or thought process is repeated often, it actually strengthens that connection. So I like to think of it as the difference between, you're walking through the bush and you're kind of hacking away at the branches either side to make a clear pathway for yourself. And that's what it's like when we do these things for the first time. But if you walk that same pathway over and over and over again, every day for several months, it becomes clearer and clearer and easier to walk down. So that's kind of what we're doing here. We're creating this pathway now so that in those times of stress, when we're feeling overwhelmed, it's easier for us to access, easier for us to calm ourselves down, to switch off that waterfall of worries and thoughts. So we're going to go through a few mindfulness exercise examples now. I'm aware that there are bloody thousands and thousands of these online that are going to be sort of much more professional than what I'm about to do. If you are, if you do have the time, do stick with me for this, because particularly if this is new to you, just to get a bit of an idea. But I am going to post some links as well on some other resources that are more professional than this video. Sam Harris actually has an app, which if you send him an email, you can get a subscription for a year for free. Otherwise, it's a pay-for service. And his is a very good secular sort of take on mindfulness. So if you're a little bit cynical about the kind of, the chakras and that side of things, then, this is a very good way to ensure that it's completely separate. There's also Headspace and My Smiling Mind are both fantastic apps that have lots of really fantastic, easy to get into mindfulness exercises. And also, if you if you type into YouTube any of the headings that I've got on these slides, you'll see hundreds, if not thousands, of videos pop up for each one. So I'll put a couple of who my favorites are that I tend to go to, but it's different for everybody. It really is this personal preference of what do you enjoy, what helps you feel relaxed, what helps you feel centered, what metaphors work for you. So we're just going to go through a few of them now. So if you would like to make sure that your phone is, you know, switched off or on silent, I just threw mine over the carpet so it would not be getting on my nerves. If you would like to, you know, make sure that there's nothing else that's switched on. If you want to have some relaxing music going on in the background, then please feel free to do so, but it's not essential. So the first thing that we're going to do, the two exercises that we're going to do are the 5-5-5 exercise. This is a very simple breathing exercise. This is a fantastic one to do when you are noticing that you are caught up in that waterfall of worrying thoughts. So, you know, this is one that I really like to do if I'm almost kind of getting into a bit of a stress bubble, also with, you know, with another person, you know, to be able to say, all right, look, let's just take a little step back here and do a bit of nice, slow, gentle breathing. So when we breathe nice and slowly, and we're talking about breathing in through our nose, out through our mouth, and when we breathe out through our mouth, we're kind of blowing gently as though we have a spoon of hot soup in front of us that we are trying to cool down without it splattering everywhere. And what this does is it increases the amount of oxygen that we have in our system, and the slowed breathing rate is a really nice trigger or a really nice cue for our body to say, okay, let's interrupt the stress response and dip down into that heal response. It's almost kind of sending that really clear signal, okay, you've gotten away from the lion. Thank God. All right, let's just get that oxygen back in our system and get things up and running. I'm going to merge this exercise with what we call a body scan. And so this is mindfulness, kind of that first step of checking in with our body and kind of saying, okay, I'm noticing my breathing, I'm getting that oxygen in my body, thank goodness, that feels great. Okay, now let's just like step by step go through my body from my toes to my head and notice what's going on. How am I feeling right now? What is my physiology sending? What messages are being sent between my body and my brain? So for example, we might notice that we're actually carrying a lot of tension in our shoulders or in our jaw that usually we're not aware of. So this is a way to notice those things. And from that place of noticing, we're able to say, okay, I now know that, you know, maybe it's not quite the way I would like it to be. Is there anything I can do to help myself relax? Or, you know, I'm noticing that these thoughts are buzzing through my head at a rate of 1,000,000 miles an hour. Is there anything I can do? Okay, so we're just going to run through that one now. If you'd like to close your eyes, and if you'd like to put your feet about shoulder width apart on the floor, and your hands just resting gently in your lap. Okay, so we're going to take 5 deep breaths. We're going to breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, and we're going to hold for 5 seconds in the middle. So breathe in for 5 seconds, hold for 5 seconds, out for 5 seconds. And if you'd like to choose a spot where you can feel that breath most strongly, try to zoom into it as much as you can. So for example, I like to focus on the back of my nostrils. I can feel it stinging a little bit and I can really feel that breath going in and out. So we're almost trying to really zoom into that physical sensation. Okay, so we'll breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, and breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5. And breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. And breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. And one more. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you'd like to continue that nice, slow, gentle breathing, we're going to move on to doing a short body scan. So with your next breath in, I'd like you to imagine a wave of warmth rising up through your toes into your feet, all the way up to halfway between your ankles and your knees. It's a bit like stepping into a warm bath. And as you imagine that warmth, I want you to really zoom in to how your feet feel right now. Are there any aches or pains? Do they feel relaxed? And if you want to, feel free to push your feet into the ground and just kind of feel how solid that ground is underneath your feet. And if you want to, feel free to squeeze all of the muscles in your feet as hard as you can, and then relax them. And squeeze them again, and relax them. And with the next breath in, I'd like you to pull that feeling of warmth all the way up along your legs, past your knees, all the way past your hips to your waist. And again, just notice anything, any sensations that you're getting in that area. You might want to notice the weight of your body in the chair that you're sitting in. And again, pushing your feet into the ground and just noticing the weight of your body, the gravity that's pulling you to the earth, and just how solid that ground is under your feet. And again, if you want to just clench those muscles in that area as tight as you can, and then relax them. And again, just tighten them as hard as you can. And relax them. And so with the next breath in, we're going to pull that feeling of warmth all the way up through our bellies, all the way to our neck and shoulders. You might even want to do a little stretch here. If your shoulders are feeling tense. And again, just notice if there's anything that you can feel. What does your heart feel like? Can you hear it beating? And so again, if you want to really tighten all of those muscles, scrunch your shoulders up if you want to, really make them as tight as you can, and then relax. And again, making them as tight as you possibly can, really scrunching them up, and then relax. And with the next breath, I'd like you to imagine that warmth spreading all the way down your arms to the tips of your fingers. Just feeling your hands resting in your lap. Again, the weight of your hands in your lap, the weight of your body in the chair, your feet pushed into the ground, gravity holding you to the ground nice and firmly. And if you want to, feel free to squeeze those muscles, really clench your hands into a fist, clench the muscles in your arms really tight, and then relax. One more time, really clench them really hard, and relax. And with the next breath, feel that warmth rise all the way to the top of your head. So you're just feeling that warmth all the way through your body. Feel your jaw, your eyes, your nose, the top of your head. Notice any tension. And just try to spread that feeling of awareness about how your body is feeling right now across your whole body. And just try and let your whole body feel awake and aware as it is right now. And if you're getting distracted with those buzzy thoughts and those images, that's okay as well. Just notice that, just be aware of that. And if you can, redirect your attention back to that spot that you found best when you were breathing. It might be in your nostrils, it might be down your throat, it might be the muscles between your ribs, or it might be right at the bottom of your lungs, deep in your belly. Whatever you like to focus on is okay. And so we'll just finish off that body scan with another 3 of those deep breaths we did at the beginning. So we'll breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, and breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold, breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So those were some examples of the deep breathing exercise and the body scan. Obviously, feel free to play that as often as you would like to. After a while, we are able to do it to ourselves, but there are so many videos available if you want to. If you're sick of this, then feel free to pause or skip ahead. But next, we're going to do a couple of examples of some other guided imagery exercises. So these are all just examples so we can trial them, see what works for us. I'm going to jump straight into the next exercises because I'm feeling quite relaxed myself right now and I want to keep the momentum going. So these next exercises we're doing straight off the back of the 5-5-5 deep breathing exercise and and the body scan. So hopefully, if you did choose to continue straight on from the last one, you're feeling nice and relaxed right now. I'm just going to start off with those breaths again, just in case you are starting here. So basically, these guided imagery exercises are using that amazing imagination that we have to our advantage. So in the same way that we can imagine an apocalyptic nightmare and feel stressed when we think about it, we can also imagine a paradise. We can imagine the most wonderful things in our life, and they also trigger feelings as though they are actually happening, as though we are actually there. So that's what we're doing with these exercises. We are imagining, we are using our imagination to relax our body. That's what a guided imagery exercise is. Loving kindness is kind of like exercising our empathy muscles. So we are manifesting a feeling of love. Now that could sometimes sound a little bit hippy-dippy, but it's basically, again, using our imagination to create a feeling within ourselves. So I like to use the image of arriving home after a holiday to see my friends and family, and that feeling when the plane is coming into land and we're just imagining our friends waiting in the terminal for us, or our family waiting in the terminal, and oh my goodness, just this lovely warm feeling in my chest. That love is just so nice. And so we're kind of using that imagery to access that feeling of love, that feeling of empathy. And again, by practicing, by doing this regularly, it's like we're strengthening that muscle or strengthening that neural pathway, so that when we're feeling stressed and perhaps feeling a little bit selfish, feeling like taking, anything that we can get at the supermarket, we can access that feeling of empathy, love, kindness, and perhaps stay strong so that we can be kind to the people around us. So I'm going to jump straight into those two. So just like what we did before, I'd like to take 3 deep breaths, and we're breathing in for 5 seconds, holding for 5 seconds, and breathing out for 5 seconds. So breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, and breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 5. And breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'd like you to imagine that you are sat in the forest in a lovely, comfortable chair, the most comfortable camping chair you can possibly imagine. And you're looking out at the trees in front of you. You're in the middle of the forest, and it rained the day before, so there is a fresh smell in the air. That fragrant perfume of all of the trees and plants, all of the oils that have been roughed up and brought to the surface from the rain. You can see all sorts of different trees. Ones as tall as buildings, shrubs and bushes in between them, and even little pockets of flowers in between. As you look around, the clouds shift and the sun permeates through the leaves and gently hits your face. Casting a pale yellow over everything around you. You tilt your face up towards the sun and can feel that gentle warmth on your face, warming you up all the way through your chest. You close your eyes for a moment and listen to the birds that are making their morning chorus, announcing their presence to all the other birds nearby. You have a hot cup of tea in your hands and take a moment to smell that comforting, familiar smell mingled with the smell of all of the trees and bushes. You can feel that it's the perfect temperature to drink, and take a sip and feel that warmth running down into your belly, warming and refreshing you all the way through. And of course you can swap that particular scene with anything that you want. Going onto YouTube and typing guided imagery and then insert the scene that you like. So you might be a beach person, you might have all sorts of different things that you like to visualize, so it's always completely up to you. We're going to go straight into the loving kindness meditation now. So I'd like you to try to manifest inside yourself a feeling of love. as I said before, one of the ways I like to do this is imagine that I'm coming home from a long journey and I'm going to see my family and my friends for the first time in quite a while. And I'm just so excited to see them. I'd just like you to notice for a moment what that feels like. Where can you feel that feeling of love? For some people it might be right in the middle of their chest, right where their heart is. For others it might be in their throat or in their belly. It's all okay. It's just a case of noticing where that is for you and what that feels like. And once you have that feeling, that warm, loving feeling, I'd like you to imagine interacting with somebody that you don't know particularly well. So it might be a cashier at Coles. And I want you to direct that feeling of love and warmth and empathy and compassion to that person. As though there is a laser beam from your chest to theirs, or whatever visualization feels right to you. I'd like you to wish them well, wish them health and happiness. And next, I'd like you to imagine somebody that perhaps you're feeling a bit irritated at the moment, or a bit frustrated with. And again, if you can, direct that feeling of love and empathy and compassion towards that person. Wish them well. Wish them health and happiness. And if you'd like to imagine your friends and family members, again, direct that feeling of love and compassion and empathy towards them, wishing them health and happiness. And from here, we want to expand that feeling, almost as if we're creating a bubble around us. And direct that bubble, that feeling of love and warmth, to your entire neighborhood. So try to picture everyone that might be in their homes more than they normally would be. That's actually physically close to you right now. And just try to direct feelings of love and compassion towards them. Wishing them well, wishing them health and happiness. And a step beyond that, expand that circle, expand that bubble to your whole country, every corner. And again, extending that feeling of love and warmth and kindness to everybody in your country. Wishing them well, wishing them health and happiness in this difficult time. And then again, expand that even further to enclose the whole world. Everybody all over the planet right now, everybody that's affected by this and who hasn't yet been touched by it. Everyone's pets, all of the animals, all of the plants. Just try to stretch that feeling as far as it will go. That feeling of warmth and love and happiness. And finally, I'd like you to redirect or open so that you are projecting that feeling of love and compassion and empathy to yourself right now. Wish yourself well. Wish yourself health and happiness. We'll just do 3 more of those nice deep breaths. And with each breath in, I'd like you to imagine that you are pulling that feeling of warmth into your chest, into your heart. So we'll breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. And breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. And breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. And last one. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. And feel free to open your eyes whenever you would like to. Or feel free to pause this video if you'd like to sit in this space a little bit longer. Whew, bloody hell. Look at the time. I hope that that was okay and that people, that gave people a little bit of an idea about what we're aiming for. If that was too long for you or not the vibe that you tend to go for, that's completely fine. I hope that it doesn't make you write anything off. It's a little bit of trial and error, I find, to find a style of these exercises that works for you. I suppose I can only speak personally that I'm feeling really relaxed right now, and I almost feel a bit like, I don't know, like I've just got into a bath or something, you know, kind of a bit heavy, a little bit kind of dozy, but just very kind of relaxed, which is a very nice feeling, actually, I have to say. Okay, so we're going to finish off this video about creating a mental safe space for ourselves with doing a bit of a brainstorm. Now, I know that this can seem a little bit cheesy, and we might think to ourselves, I know what I'm doing, I know what I enjoy doing, I don't need to write it all down, what a load of rubbish. But we've got to remember here that we're not just looking after ourselves right now, we're looking after our future selves as well. So, and this is, I hope that I'm speaking for people other than just myself here, but I'm feeling really relaxed right now, and I'm probably in a much better mental state to be thinking about what sort of things I enjoy doing, what are some solutions for the things that I'm worried about, compared to if I've just come back from the shops, it's been a really stressful experience, I've been in a big queue and I'm really feeling frantic. So we're doing this for ourselves when we are most vulnerable. So I would quite strongly recommend getting a piece of paper now, getting a pen, and writing down a list of things that you enjoy doing, things that you find give you this feeling of relaxation. There are some examples there. So reading a book, watching a movie, arts and crafts, playing video games, cooking, gardening, exercising. It's different for everybody, but we're looking for things that when you're doing them, it's almost like that cross between time standing still and, well, time having no meaning, I suppose. So you get so immersed in it, so lost in this activity, that you look up at the time and 3 hours has gone by. Something that hopefully you access that mindful kind of state, or what we sometimes call a state of flow, where you are just completely immersed in what you are doing right now, rather than worrying about the past or the future. So if you could take a few moments now to write those down and add them to your list. So now you should have a list of things that you're grateful for. You should have a list of activities that you enjoy doing. We're going to use those in the next couple of videos, so do hold on to them. And if you want to stick them up in your personal shrine area, that can be a really good place to put them as that kind of continual reminder of what you enjoy doing. Okie dokie. So hopefully those last two videos have given you something of a self-care toolkit. So this is the combination of the safe physical space and the safe mental space that you can access whenever you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed. Things to calm yourself back down, take that step back so that you can think more creatively and laterally, and be able to solve the problem with more purpose. So next time we're going to talk about managing worry, and I hope that it makes sense why we've gone into quite a lot of detail with these first steps first, because we don't want to be trying to manage worry from a state of stress. We want to be able to relax ourselves before we tackle our worries. So I hope that this has been helpful, and if you have resources, videos, information that you find really helpful on this topic, please do put a link in the comments. It's very helpful to be sharing as much as we can right now. Thanks.